From ancient paranormal crystal skulls to the legendary Nessie and sailing stones, here are 11 of the world's strangest mysteries finally solved. What happened to Richard III? It's commonly accepted that English King Richard III died in 1485 at the Battle of Bosworth Field. What remained a mystery was exactly how the monarch met his fate. Scholars have debated whether he was killed on the battlefield, or perhaps captured and later executed, so definitive conclusions could be drawn. But in 2012, a body was discovered underneath a parking lot in Leicester, England. By conducting forensic and genealogical research, experts were able to confirm that the remains did indeed belonged to Richard III. Further, they could finally confirm how the king perished. He was likely killed in battle from injuries inflicted by a sword or a staff weapon. Breaking water. Did you know that Sweden and Russia nearly had a military standoff in 1994? It stemmed from an incident in the early 1980s, when a Russian sub was caught off course in Swedish waters. The Soviets claimed it was just a mistake, but that sounded a bit fishy. 13 years later, Swedish forces detected a strange metallic clicking noise occurring underwater near Stockholm Harbor. At first, they thought it was a nuclear-armed submarine. It prompted a terse letter of condemnation from Sweden to Russian Prime Minister Boris Yeltsin. So imagine the embarrassment when that clicking noise turned out to be herring fish, and the menacing sound was made when the fish broke wind. Turns out that herrings actually break wind, or water, as a means of communicating with one another. One might say the fish pass messages along with their gas. The discovery helped Swedish scientists win a Nobel Prize for biology. How many licks? While researching this episode, we found what some people consider to be one of the world's strangest mysteries ever. Just how many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop? The question has baffled serious candy connoisseurs for many years. Well, according to our sweet sources, there seems to be no definitive answer. In fact, it can vary considerably. A research project at Purdue University reports that a licking machine they developed takes about 364 licks. Their human counterparts took around 252 licks to get to the center. Another study at the University of Michigan claimed that it's 411 licks. Assuming you have the patience to count your licks on a Tootsie Pop, tell us your number in the comments below. Thor's hammer. If you asked someone to identify Thor today, they might say it's the yoked-up guy with the long blonde hair from the Avengers. But Thor was a central figure in Norse mythology long before the Marvel Comics movies. Revered as the god of thunder, he wielded a fearsome hammer called Mjolnir, a weapon so powerful it could level mountains. Dozens of pendants with a T-shape have been found scattered across Scandinavia, dating between the 9th and 11th centuries. They were dubbed Mjolnir amulets, and were speculated to represent Thor's hammer. Now, experts have confirmed that the pendants in fact do symbolize Mjolnir. That's based on the discovery of a pendant in 2014 that bears an inscription. It's the only such amulet to do so. The inscription reads simply, "This is a hammer." That is taken as enough proof to connect the amulets with Thor. It's possible that believers wore the pendants for protection, or maybe it was to prove their worthiness to the thunder god. Anastasia. The Grand Duchess Anastasia was the youngest daughter of Tsar Nicholas II and his wife Alexandra. The royal Romanov family, including the Tsar, his wife, and their 5 children, including Anastasia, were executed in 1918. But did Anastasia somehow manage to escape that fate and survive? That question provoked one of the great mysteries of the 20th century, as well as a plethora of books and movies. Nearly a dozen women claimed to be the Grand Duchess. The best known was Anna Anderson. She claimed to have played dead among the bodies of her family and servants, and managed to survive with the assistance of a sympathetic guard. Anderson's battle for legal recognition went from 1938 to 1970. Courts ruled that she had insufficient evidence to prove her claim, and DNA evidence gathered in 1994 conclusively proved that Anderson was not who she claimed to be. So what really happened to Anastasia? Despite all of the speculation, the 17-year-old girl was in fact killed with her family in 1918. After the mass grave holding the remains of the imperial family was discovered, the answer was finally revealed. Forensic analysis and DNA testing conclusively confirmed that Anastasia did not survive. The Lost Colony. That refers to the Roanoke Colony that was established in 1585 in what is now North Carolina. In 1587, when English ships carrying colonists stopped by Roanoke, they found nothing there aside from one human skeleton. 115 colonists had stayed behind at Roanoke with the promise that the ships would sail to England and return with supplies. Because of the Anglo-Spanish War, which started in 1585, that promise was broken. English ships couldn't return to Roanoke until 1590, but upon discovery, the settlement was completely deserted of the men, women, and children left there. What happened to those colonists has remained a mystery for centuries. Today, the most agreed upon explanation is that the colonists were integrated into the tribes of local Native Americans. That seemed to be verified by reports filed by European colonists from the 17th to 18th centuries. The bloop. This underwater noise was picked up by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, across the Pacific in 1997. A mystery arose as to how the low-frequency sound was heard at 2 listening stations located around 3,100 miles, or 5,000 kilometers, apart. A lot of theories arose that this noise was actually organic in nature. It could have been produced by some unknown, massive beast dwelling at the bottom of the ocean. Such a beast might be the largest sea critter ever discovered, but NOAA would later confirm that the noise wasn't made by an animal at all. The noise was actually an icequake. The sound was produced by ice as it cracks and breaks up. Experts say there are thousands of these icequakes that occur each year, as sea ice slides off glaciers and into the ocean. Sailing stones. This phenomenon has been documented to occur in various locations around the world, but it has especially drawn attention at Racetrack Playa in Death Valley National Park, California. Massive boulders, weighing up to 700 pounds, or 318 kilograms, seem to move of their own volition, often leaving trails that stretched more than 300 feet, or 91 meters long. Some trails were curved, while others traveled in a straight line. Then they abruptly change course to the left or right. What's behind the mystery? Well, it seems to be all about ice in the desert. Under certain conditions during winter in Death Valley, water could form ice sheets underneath the large stones. That would allow a breeze to float the rocks across the valley floor. That would result in those familiar trails in the mud, as the stones move more than 16 feet, or 5 meters, a minute. The Shroud of Turin. Said to be the burial shroud of a man alleged to be Jesus of Nazareth, very little is known about the rectangular piece of linen cloth prior to the 14th century. The shroud's first documented exhibition was in France in 1357. That actually corresponds to results obtained from radiocarbon dating from the shroud, which dates it between the years of 1260 and 1390. But that means the shroud would not have existed during the time of the crucifixion. The results led to debate that portions of the cloth sampled may have been repaired during medieval times, or they were otherwise contaminated, causing the findings to produce a more modern date for the material. Judging from radiocarbon dating, the shroud would have been created long after the time of crucifixion. Even so, the artifact continues to provoke plenty of debate amongst historians, researchers, and theologians. The Crystal Skulls. Crafted from clear or milky white quartz, these carvings of crystal skulls are said to have been made in pre-Columbian Mesoamerican times. Their discoverers claim the translucent artifacts have Aztec or Mayan origins. There are even stories that the skulls possess some sort of paranormal or supernatural powers. But after the British Museum and the Smithsonian conducted experiments on their collection of crystal skulls, they arrived at much different conclusions. Electron microscopes and X-rays revealed that the objects were created much later than originally claimed. Evidence revealed that the skulls were polished and cut with a wheeled instrument. Such technology would have been unavailable to the Aztecs or the Mayans. It's more likely that the skulls were manufactured in Europe during the mid-19th century. That was a time in which there was a fascination with ancient cultures. The Surgeon's Photograph. So first off, here's a disclaimer. This segment is not intended to offer conclusive proof one way or the other that the Loch Ness Monster does or does not exist. There's been all sorts of speculation over the ages as to whether Nessie might be anything from a plesiosaur that was lost to time or a wandering Greenland shark. The first reported sighting of a creature in Loch Ness was documented by the Irish monk Saint Columba in 1565 CE. Since then, countless sightings of something have been reported there, but nothing has been definitively proven or disproven. But what has been disproven many times is the alleged photo of Nessie that purports to show the creature's head and neck. It's called the Surgeon's Photograph because it was supposedly taken by a London doctor. It was first published in the Daily Mail in 1934, and it's become one of the most classic photographs of any cryptid. The problem is, the picture is a sham, and most sources now consider it to be part of an elaborate hoax. The doctor crafted his Nessie from a toy toy submarine, with the head and neck made from wood putty. The only thing real about the picture is that it was actually photographed at Loch Ness. Thanks for watching this episode. Did you like the video? Tell us what you think in the comments below, and be sure to like, follow, and subscribe.